Let's talk about how and where Scientology is being investigated. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Natalie. This is Scientology Life After a Cult. Hello to everybody in the live chat, and thank you so much, members, for being here as well. And thank you to my moderators for helping out today. I am very excited about my guest who has never been on this channel before. We are going to get to the bottom of what is happening with the Scientology investigation happening. And Mirjam at Scientology Up North is joining. I'm going to pull her up. We're going to get started. If you guys have any questions, if you could put question before your question and have your question followed, that'd be great. Help me keep track of those. So we'll see if we can get to as many as we can, because I know I got a ton of questions and I'm really excited to hear about this. So everybody, let's see here. We were having a little bit of technical difficulties, but I think we now have it figured out so we can hear Mirjam and see her clearly. So welcome, Mirjam. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to finally meet you.
Yes, I cannot believe we've emailed quite a bit because I would get, clips and information on what you guys are doing over in Denmark and what's happening. And I've been dying to have you on because an audience, this is directed at you as well. I don't think that everyone really understands how important and huge this current investigation that we're going to talk about is, and the domino effect that it could have. And we're also going to get into some questions around, many of you might be wondering like me, like, okay, why is Denmark so on top of this? And they're doing this investigation and this is happening and that is happening. And in the United States, maybe some things just seem to take a different path. But first, I want to know from you, tell me a little bit about how you got started with live streaming and protesting Scientology in Denmark.
That was a little bit of an accident. I never planned to do this. Scientology I've been following since I was like a 13-year-old kid. So actually I read the OT3 material already when I was on 8th grade at school or something. So I made a little schoolwork about it. And then I've been watching Aaron's channel, I think on and off since 2017. I found an old message I had sent him in 2017. Why are all these people wearing these uniforms in Copenhagen?
Yeah.
And he was shortly just explaining me the Sea Org, which I was not aware of.
Mm-hmm. And this is your channel that I just pulled up, Scientology Up North. So everybody, so you know where to find her. If you want to see what they're doing there, and if you have any like questions later, make note of that, Scientology Up North. All right, yes. We're saying.
Yes. And then I was following the kind of like the anti-Scientology movement with the ex-members online on and off, mainly Aaron. It was mainly Aaron at that time and Chris Shelton. Mm-hmm. And then last year, I was actually introduced to William Good via another podcast called the H3 podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I saw this guy who was really taking action, and you could clearly see that he was not entirely aware of everything that was happening, but he knew whatever was happening was wrong. And I thought, okay, he can do it. Anyone can do it. And that's kind of where I got the spark, because I could see nothing was happening in Denmark. And I thought someone will have to, make the first video or something. And you actually showed, I think it was the first little clip of one of the orgs that you shared on your channel. And then L. Ron Hopgold sent me a mail right away.
That's so fantastic. I know that I've been a fan. I've been following you both here on YouTube and what you've been doing out there. And I've just been amazed. One, I love that you're working together on this, because I think it's really helpful when people are protesting Scientology that you have somebody there if and when you can, and to have someone who's an ex-Scientologist that can really fill in some of those blanks as you run into Sea Org members and kind of answer those questions on the fly. Did you find that to be helpful as you were going out there?
Absolutely, because I was even tossed to film an organization. I mean, when I went home, I was looking behind my back if not anyone's following me. I thought it was really scary to start with. And he was also waiting for someone to come out and do something. So we kind of found each other in the start, and I just tried to encourage him to start his own channel, and here we are now. He has all the information, and then maybe I have a little bit more of ideas of what we could do and so forth. So we work really well together, and we have fun with each other. So that's
That
a
is
plus
good.
as
Yeah,
well.
you see that and you see the support and how you guys how you both support each other as well. Uh,
Yeah.
so tell us what is happening with this investigation into Scientology. If you can tell a little bit about kind of what led up to it and what it actually means, because in your country, I mean, it's different than the United States. And because a lot of the articles, I mean, everything is, not in English. So most of us are unable to read it. And you've done
Yeah.
an amazing job translating some of that. You've done videos of it over at Scientology Up North. So how
Hmm.
would you explain what is happening?
Okay, so this was a really lucky coincidence because our goal from the start has been to shut down Scientology in Denmark. And without knowing about this, I actually contacted the author Robert Dam when I found out about his book that had been previously released. And we met maybe 1.5 months ago, and he told me about this book that was coming out.
Mhm.
Myself and Elvin Hopgold, we had maybe a couple of hours with him, and yeah, it was just by a chance, or maybe the stars were aligned, that this book was coming out exactly at this moment. He told a little bit of the background, how he had been contacted by an ex-Sea Org child who grew up in Scientology or in Sea Org, and how he started his investigation for this, that it ended up being a book actually in the
Mhm.
end. So I thought, okay, this is good news. And I also have been in touch with Cyril. It's a small circles wherever you go with Scientology. So
Does seem to be. And let people know who Cyril is, just for people who might not know.
yeah, so Cyril Chiquet is a second generation Scientologist who I think he was born in Switzerland, but his mom brought him and his little brother to Denmark so she could join the Sea Org. And yeah, Cyril and his brother were grown up in quite horrible surroundings in Denmark in the 90s and yeah, start of 2000s. So
And it was the article that was done on the front page of the biggest paper in Denmark was about him. And he's also the one who wrote the book, or did somebody else write the book?
actually, it's Robert Dam. I have the book actually here. It's called The
Okay.
Hotels of the Darkness. Uh, the character in the book is fictional, and the stories in it are real, because the research he did, he told that a lot of the people were either still somehow connected to Scientology via family, or they were so traumatized they did not want to put their faces or names out there.
Wow.
So
So did you learn this from, who did you learn that from? Was
from Robert.
was saying that in doing this article, there were
Mhm.
people who had similar experiences and could have shared their stories, but due to being fair game by Scientology, which it
Yes.
is, with that their concern is that Scientology would do something to upset things for them.
Yes, and also because the people were so traumatized that actually, they haven't really been able to progress in their life in the same way as so-called regular people have, because they've been so traumatized by their childhood experiences. And that's why the book is set up or based on a fictional character, but all the stories are real. So that's
Wow.
basically what he told us. And Cyril's story was then published in the newspaper article because they kind of wanted to have a face for the book release, and also to tell a story of someone who has grown up in Scientology and in the Sea Org. So
Wow.
he is not directly related to the book. Maybe some of his stories have been also added into this book. I'm not sure of that, but
Yeah.
he was more of the face of one Sea organization child who was abused,
When he
basically.
did a good job sharing his story, and he was an unfortunate example of exactly that. Do you know if the book is in English?
No, at the moment it's not. The first book that is actually about his own. I have it here as well.
Mm.
This one is published in English. It's called The Defector, and you can find it on Amazon. And it's about his own story in Scientology,
Oh, okay.
which
The
is
Defector.
yes.
And that's in
So
English on Amazon.
yeah, and that's actually pretty exciting because he went up to OT5 in Denmark. That's the highest level you can
Yeah.
do in Europe, and he ended up being accused of theft, and he was sent actually to Fort Harrison for 21 days, where he was interrogated night and day, also by Marty Rathburn. It's a pretty horrible story as well.
Was he
And
a Sea Org member or a Scientology
he
like
was a
member?
public. So he was shortly in staff, and then he was public. Yeah.
Why was he being interrogated by Marty Rathbun? And for those that don't know, Marty Rathbun was an enforcer in Scientology working under David Miscavige before leaving Scientology and turning whistleblower. Do you by chance know?
Yes. Yes. So he was actually working with printing all these magazines and arranging. I think he was also doing like some raw order material and taking care of printing of these publications that are sent over the world,
For
basically from here.
Scientology.
Yeah, for Scientology.
Okay.
And they were saying that he had done a fraud that was for, I think it was for millions of kroners, I think Danish kroners, so several $100,000. And
Who
it
did the
was
fraud?
Robert. They were accusing him of doing a fraud.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he was basically picked up by security staff in Copenhagen, put on a plane to the States, and then interrogated over there.
Whoa.
Yeah, so he has a pretty interesting story. I'm actually going to talk with him next week. We have agreed to talk about the book, but you should definitely have him on.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, I'll get his contact info from you.
Yes,
So
yes.
tell us a bit about the investigation now that's going on in Denmark. What are they looking at? What does that look like in your country when an investigation is done?
Yeah, I think it's too early to talk about an actual investigation. Basically, the timeline went so that the day, or I think it was the day before the book publication, Cyril's story came out. Then the book came out and the review of the book, which was basically, it got really good reviews, I think 5 out of 6 stars. And the headline was already saying, in the middle of reading this book, you already start to think, shut this shit down.
Yeah.
That's what it literally said on the newspaper.
Whoa.
Yeah.
In Denmark.
Yes, in Denmark. You're
Wow.
allowed to write naughty words on newspaper.
In Denmark. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy and that is something that I find so fascinating is that they're not trying to be like, just tiptoe around it. It seems in Denmark, they're like, when they're reporting on Scientology, that they're not shying away from
Yeah.
sharing the truth about it.
Yeah. So the book review came out a couple of days after that. There came another article written by the same journalist who had written the profile for Cyril regarding all the real estate in Denmark that is, or around Copenhagen, that is owned by Scientology, and about their finances. And they are actually using a tax evaluation from or the tax, how do you say, the real estate value according to the tax authorities from 2020. And I happen to know that it has been significantly changed. So basically, you could double the value of the property already, what they are reporting on the newspaper.
Wow. And Scientology in Denmark, do they have to pay property taxes there? Do you know?
Yes, because their organization, they do need to pay some property tax. Yes.
Okay.
But that was the article. And then again, the same article or the same writer of these articles, she had then contacted the members of parliament.
Wow.
And gotten all the commentary and then written the article about their comments based on the story of Cyril and the book and all the information Robert has given.
What was there anything that really stood out to you or surprised you the most about the reaction, whether it was from Parliament or it was from the reporter doing it in their sharing of the story or in how they responded to it. A lot of times it's sometimes I think that when something is so horrific as things often are in Scientology, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
Sea Org, when it comes in kids growing up in the Sea Org and how Sea Org members are treated, in my experience, it's sometimes hard for people to wrap their head around it and understand that this is a real thing and this is happening and it's happening in multiple places, that becomes difficult almost for them to face. And in Scientology, it would be called they couldn't confront it, to
Mm-hmm.
be able to face that. And it just really seems different in Denmark.
Yeah, I think the fact that we are talking about children is the big game changer here, because news go in cycles and people forget, about what they read in yesterday's paper and so forth. So there has been a lot of negative publicity towards Scientology before already,
Yeah.
but it's been mainly about people, losing their house or taking insane loans to cover their courses and so forth. This is the first time we're talking about the children, and I think the public and the politicians are actually shocked about these conditions that have been in place in Copenhagen, in a in a society where the social welfare is a very big thing. That there
Talk a
has
little bit
been,
about that so people understand how it's different there, or
yeah.
what you mean by that.
So basically, everyone in Denmark has a right for free healthcare, free education, all the way up to university degree. You actually get some money while you're studying in
Sure.
university. So you get, I think, roughly $700 a month
Wow.
to subsidize your living expenses while you're studying.
Mhm.
And yeah, if you need, for example, daycare, that's also subsidized. If you're not able to pay it yourself, you will get it for free and so forth.
Yeah.
So the fact that there has been young children in rooms with groups of 10 or 12 kids in one room in some moldy old hotels, not being able to get the right kind of education and food that they should get, never mind the healthcare and so forth. That's totally unacceptable, and that's what they are commenting on at the moment. And
Sure.
the question seems to also be that when it's been going on for so long time, how should we believe now Scientology when they are stating that there's no more children in Scientology, for example?
Yeah.
And also, mm, because it's combined with the story of Robert and Cyril, it's also seems to be an interest, the fact of the working conditions also for adults and elderly.
Yeah, that is good. Why do you think this is a great question from Stacy. Why now? Why is there such a spotlight now? Why not when Robert's first book came out?
Yeah, so I think I explained it before. Robert was telling his own story. So even though it was a bestseller in Denmark, it was telling his own story as a public Scientologist, how he dedicated 20 years of his life to do Scientology, and how it nearly broke down his family, and he struggled to get out of Scientology with his wife and his two children. So it's not maybe as compelling story of, rather than children that are being born
Oh, I get what you're
into
saying.
New York,
So
where they don't have a choice.
they knew about it, but in
Hmm.
having adults living in mold infested rooms and not
Hmm.
getting really truly proper shelter and
Yeah,
healthcare and all of that, though
yeah.
it wouldn't be something people would support. But when in your country they started getting the stories of children
Hmm.
living in this conditions, that
Yeah.
then kind of really put the spotlight on Scientology. And then boom, here comes the second book.
Mm.
Boom, here comes this article, and the
Mm.
tides are really changing on, it seems like, them looking at Scientology.
Hmm. Exactly. And especially with the children that are, children of different Sea Org members that have been coming with a big ship at one point from another country. All of them are foreign. The children are potentially, a product of two parents that are not even the same nationality. So they are not, the children that are in Copenhagen, they're not even speaking Danish. They are speaking, communicating in broken English with each other. They are taking care of it. It kind of reminds me of Jamie Mustard's story of his upbringing, that there were up to 30 children taken care of by a 13-year-old nanny.
Wow. So very similar stories in
Yeah.
Copenhagen
Yes.
from people who grew up in the Sea
Yes.
Organization there, which is
Yes.
so interesting because it really goes to show this wasn't a bad apple. As Scientology likes to say, what they like to do, I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you as an ex-Scientologist, what they
Mm.
do is they go, oh, well, that was all being done by a couple of bad apples and we got rid of them.
Mm-mm.
And
No.
they're talking about as if that only happened in Los Angeles or
Mm.
just at the Blue Buildings. No,
Mm.
there was
No.
the Celebrity Center. There was New York had a Continental
Yeah.
liaison office in other
Yeah.
countries. To see it there and hear that, do you think they know, or was it part, well, from what you know, part of the conversation, or maybe it was even in the interview about how what's happening, what had been happening there has also happened in the United States and other countries as far as Scientology goes?
No, at the moment they are only talking about Denmark, but
Mhm.
clearly it has been deliberate, and small children in the Sea Org has just been, inconvenience and added expense to Scientology and the Sea Organization, and that's exactly how the children have been treated.
Wow. And you see, what's interesting when we've been watching one of the videos I remember that you and L. Ron Hubcult did, you were live streaming and you met, I mean, more than one. I don't remember if the guy was a Sea Org member. There was somebody that I think worked at Narconon or something with L. Ron Hubcult,
Yes,
and
yes.
they had a history. Can you kind of touch on that story a little bit for people that might not have caught that video?
Yeah, so that was basically in the start when we were not as notorious as we are right now in the eyes of Scientology. So it was actually Balazs, so Elron Hopkal's old roommate, and he was a second generation Scientologist who was working in Narconon for quite some time together with Elron Hopkalt. And this was at the time when Narconon was not getting any kind of government funding. And apparently, this old Narconon building was in a very bad condition. And Balazs had told me before that the police had, for example, arrived there, and they, the management was asking them to hide and turn off the lights so police would not see them, because they had some Scientology patients in a Narconon which should have not been operating at the time because the
Wow.
conditions were so bad. But
So they had them hide.
yeah, and this old friend of his actually denied that and said it was not really accurate, and the fact that there was no food sometime was just because they were really working hard to reach their target over there and get everything open up and sorted out, and that's why it was so tough for momentarily over there.
Yeah, he just
However,
has it justified and fully justified.
yeah.
Serge says all of us kids got the same treatment. The policies made people become bad apples. L. Ron Hubbard was and is a rotten apple. And
Yeah.
well said. And I think what you're sharing and what's now coming out in Denmark is really showing and backing up
Hmm.
what people in the United States, in Canada, and other places have been saying about
Mm,
their experience in growing up in
mm,
Scientology. It's
yeah.
just amazing to me how this is all coming about there and how you're all able to come,
Yeah.
together. Was there anything, I mean, what were you thinking? Because I mean, L. Ron Hubcult's been going along, you guys have been going out there and protesting together and live streaming, and he has this experience as an ex-Scientologist. So something,
Hmm.
even though they're still disturbing, he kind of more knew about it. For you, as somebody never in Scientology, and then to go kind of really deep into the belly of the beast
Hmm.
here with what you know now, because it's like
Yeah.
once you know, you cannot unknow.
Yeah.
What was this experience like for you personally?
It was actually really shocking because the whole time when I started, I thought, okay, it's going to be bad, but it's not going to be as bad as it's in the States, for example, because we are in Denmark after all,
Mhm.
almost mirroring the statements of the politicians saying that, this would not be possible in Denmark. And what has happened to the children, a couple of decades ago is, of course, the worst that I have heard so far, but it's not very good at the moment either. And it's not that there are no children in Scientology anymore. Now they are teenagers. But for example, Elron Hopgold has said that there was 14-year-olds in 2016
Yeah.
in the Sea Org, and definitely several 16-year-olds.
Mhm.
So there are still underage kids
Yeah.
in the Sea Org, and they are breaking the employment law because just like the politicians said, there are certain rules, and if you are ineligible to sign a contract, even if it's called a symbolic contract for a billion years, it's still a contract. You're not able to sign a contract such as that, and you're not allowed to work 90 hours per week, or up to 100 hours per week when you're under 18 years old.
Yeah. So as you go along and you're going through this and you're actually meeting people,
Hmm.
current Scientologists, I was very surprised too by the amount of people that you were both able to actually speak to. And I was wondering if this was kind of, because I know that I've, in what little protesting
Hmm.
I've done it in different areas. I've been to about 5 different orgs, and it's a little different in each place because the customs are different.
Hmm.
Even though it's all in the United States, in the Midwest, even people in Scientology who are from there locally they tend to be a little bit friendlier. We see them behaving different with protesters than
Hmm.
in Los Angeles. Not a one for one, but I kind of noticed that it's a little bit different in the Midwest. Are there things about Denmark, the people as a people and society? Is there anything that you think is different from, I guess in the United States that would make them be more willing to investigate Scientology and call it out and do these articles and embrace these books and just really, I mean, it was in the biggest paper in Denmark.
Yeah. One thing I would like to say, and I hope no one is taking any offense to this, but there is basically no corruption in Denmark. There is.
What does that mean?
So, I mean, there is no one holding, for example, power over politicians. They are actually, elected members of parliament. They are representing the people. They don't have a big funders behind them who are actually paying for the election campaigns. I think there's actually a limit of how much you can donate for a candidate. So they are not held on a leash. The same goes for the media. There's no Robert Murdoch or whoever controlling the media. So Scientology, they don't have any kind of weapons against the media or the politicians over here, because there is no kind of instance controlling what they are saying.
Because they
So
can't
I
give them money.
no, no, no. There
Wow.
will not be any kind of way to silence politicians or the media. Absolutely none. And
Amanda's moving to Denmark. Hey,
yeah,
Amanda.
and
Good to meet
unfortunately, I can see that the American political environment, just looking at the presidential election and the police force in Los Angeles, no one with a straight face can say that there is no corruption. It's
you. Mhm.
obvious. So,
Yeah, that is interesting. I did not know that about Denmark, and that makes a lot of sense. That kind of answers my question about how are your elected officials being so much more effective?
yeah,
And that makes sense. I would never have known that
yeah.
the system is set up differently, where here so much fundraising is done for a political campaign, and that
Hmm.
often, of course, is going to come with strings. But you're
Yeah.
saying in Denmark that is not the case. So when an elected official is presented with this and it
Mm.
really hits them, like it really sounds like it took the stories of what was happening to the children for them to take action. But now
Yes.
that they're aware of it, they're not trying to unsee it.
No, but of course, we are still talking about statements they are making that they are promising to do something. So that's why we need to continue to work on this and actually keep on contacting them. I have an activist friend here who I think wants to stay anonymous, but she already took action after the articles were published and contacted every single politician that was mentioned in the article. And most of them have actually answered because the list of all the members of parliament, their contact details, telephone number, and email is publicly available, and they are personally reading their own emails. So
Wow.
so there's already a personal response that she has received from some of them, and I think I will talk about it at one point. Secondly, we are working together with Fluffer
Mhm.
to hopefully have a similar page up as the revoke Scientology's tax exempt status and the House Reps list on
Oh, that is
SBTV.space.
fantastic. So you're working with Fluffer Squirrel UK
Yes,
and
yeah, a friend.
yeah, and other people. I just completely my mind went blank. There are more people who are helping out on that. So you're saying just like now where you can go to sptv.space, click on
Hmm.
resources, and you can find your elected officials and they're tracking their responses to the question of where do you stand on Scientology's an
Yes.
investigation, a hearing into Scientology's tax exempt status. So
Hmm.
you're saying they're going to make one like that, but for Denmark.
Yeah, so we are actually trying to make some template letters in English and in Danish, provide the contact list to the different members of parliament so people can actually contact them directly with the facts related to the Sea organization, how it operates, not just related to the recent book release, but also the concern we have for the children that are going through Purif in Denmark. There was also talk about that in the summer. So we are going to try and make, as compact as possible these letters, but we're still working on it. And then, of course,
Yeah.
we need some support from the whole SBTV.space crew, but they have already, promised us a little bit of support from that side. So I think it's going to happen soon.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so excited that you guys came together and are just really jumping into action and so many people, especially the large number of people never in Scientology, all in on bringing down the cult that are
Yes.
able to use their skills and resources and things that they know how to do, even with technology, to
Yes.
make this happen and to
Yes.
create this larger community. Is there anything or are there things that other people in the community can do to support the efforts that are going on right now in Denmark?
Yeah. So actually, what I emailed to you about before today regarding the Working Environment Authority. So if if there is anyone who's been in the Sea organization in Denmark or has a family member currently in Sea organization in Denmark, they could actually report their concerns to the Working Environment Authority in Denmark, as well as the employment minister, uh, and tell about the conditions, for example, they themselves have been working in, or where their family member is working in Denmark.
So what you really need, what would be helpful is if people could come forward and share the living working conditions that either they experience themselves or if they had a family member or
Yes.
friend also in there.
Yes, because like the politician said, there are so many different instances here that should be aware of Scientology. This is something that would be directly targeted to the working conditions. So the Working Environment Authority is a publicly funded instance who is making sure that workplaces are having the right type of conditions. And no matter how much Scientology wants to say that the Sea organization members are volunteers, when you are signing a contract for a billion years, it doesn't sound very volunteer, does it?
Well, not only that, when you, even if they like to say, well, I mean, it's a gesture.
Yes,
It's not really a billion years. Ah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
exactly.
If that,
Exactly.
was if that could happen. And
Exactly.
it's this constant trying to downplay the fact that these volunteers have multiple roll calls that they have to
Hmm.
be in attendance at to prove that they did not leave. You
Yeah.
have to be there from this time to that time.
Hmm.
You have to request time off. You can, I mean,
Hmm.
none of this fits under the umbrella of truly being a volunteer.
Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
assuming then in Denmark that you're seeing more of the same, and the government there is seeing that as well and recognizing that basically it's a lie there. How can you be a volunteer? Because even a staff member who's not in the Sea Org, they
Hmm.
signed a 2.5 or a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
Who signs a contract to be a volunteer? And then you got to go show up
Mm.
for multiple roll calls during the day, and you have to ask for time off, and you have
Mhm.
required hours, and you don't get paid a living wage. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. And the work employment ministry and this authority, the employment authority, they are on the employees' side. So, for example, it's illegal to be working 15-hour days in Denmark, even if you'd wish to do that yourself. So you cannot argue that this person is doing volunteer work. You need to have a certain type of rest period and a certain amount of days off. And that does not happen in the Sea Org.
Wow. So that is even if they're a volunteer, how does Denmark view Scientology in terms of religious status or tax exempt status? Because in the United States they have tax exempt status, but our constitution doesn't allow the government to say you're a religion, you're not a religion. But they do have tax exempt status and this
Mhm.
nonprofit status and
Yeah.
hide behind a lot of those protections when it comes to freedom of religion. What is that? How does that differ in Denmark?
So Scientology in Denmark is an organization,
Okay.
whatever that means. They claim to be a religion, but they are considered to be an organization. So they're registered organization.
Okay. Do they have any type? And you were saying that they don't have any type of tax exempt status there?
I think they get some type of tax reduction, but it's really difficult to look into their information because it's not public. Normally, all company information is public online, but for Scientology, it's not. So I am assuming that they are getting some type of tax reduction, not on the New Era, because that's basically a publishing company that has a different company registration number. But the Scientology Europe, I think, is maybe having some kind of tax reductions.
Wow. It really
Yeah.
does seem like it's just really exciting what's happening and the momentum
Hmm.
that's happening there. And my hope is that it'll give strength for more people to come forward. If people want to come forward with their own experience in Denmark or that of a family member or a friend
Mm.
in the Sea organization, how do they go about sharing that information? Who should they reach out to?
I mean, it depends if we are talking about something that could be potentially criminal. They can always contact me at Scientology Up North, yeah, at gmail.com if they want to share their story. I can then try and advise a right way. I know that the journalist is right now very much interested continuing on this path of writing about Scientology, and this was not the last article,
Yeah,
but
I doubt that. I would
yeah,
imagine just like the more they look into it,
yeah,
the more
yeah,
they're just, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that this has been happening right here,"
yeah,
and other
yeah.
people have brought it up. It just seems that they just were not getting the message.
Yeah, and
And
there's
has
so
any
many. Yeah, yeah, and there's so many problematic things when it comes to Scientology. So, for me, it's impossible to even try and start to investigate everything. Right now, I think they did mess up with the restraining order because I have plenty of time to to do the other type of investigation at the moment because that thing is on hold
So
at
what happened with that? So can you tell us a little about the restraining order issue and where things stand and who it's against?
I think basically it's just that their feelings are hurt, and and
In the
it's on.
United States, we call that being butt hurt.
Yes, yes. So right now, I'm in dialogue with the police, and I will give an update when there's something to say. It should be very difficult to happen here, so that's what I'm counting on.
So people can reach out to you at your email if they know
mhm.
someone who has a story to share from Copenhagen that they're willing to share. They have to be willing to share it with the authorities, correct?
Uh, yes, so there's a lot of things you can even do. File a crime report online. I think without being in the country. So if there's, for example, like a crime that has been happening, you can contact the police directly. I can advise where to contact. If there's someone that wants to, for example, talk to the press, then I can maybe try and see if there's a way for me to, contact the journalist, for example, with this person. And yeah, we're just we're trying to figure out as we go along what to do, because this is all new to us. And it's difficult to always say which instance to try
Yeah.
and contact in which case. But for example, with the politicians, it depends on, I think, what type of issues you have had, but you can contact any of them and they are expected to give you some sort of response as well.
Yeah, it's incredible. I am so thankful as somebody who, as an ex-Scientologist who doesn't want anyone to get into Scientology, but also I have such a big spot in my heart for people who are still there, who are
Mm,
trapped there by the mental trap of it all and the mind control. I really
yeah,
appreciate what you guys are doing and the
yeah,
connection now that you have with each other and other people who are going to continue to come forward. The protest, when you all came together, you did a protest in Denmark and you
yeah.
had, right, Bianca was there, the
Hmm.
SP chef was there. Are
Yeah.
there other countries around Denmark that share a similar view when it comes to taking care of their people and the politicians not being on the payroll or, able to have the level of corruption that, I mean, I think we all know we have a level of corruption in politics here in the United States. I don't think I'm saying anything that nobody, doesn't know about. And
Yeah.
but like you're saying, it's different in Denmark. Is that similar in other countries that surround Denmark?
Yeah, I would say the Nordic countries. So Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark.
Yeah.
It's quite similar environment, but like where they keep on talking, Denmark is the head hub for Scientology in Europe. And I mean, it's so sad we cannot show. You should come here and actually see how many people there are. This is the busiest organization out of them all. Out of anything I see on YouTube, in LA, in yeah, what else would I say now? In UK, for example, the org. Actually, I had a friend who visited the London org, and apparently there were only few employees over there, and no public
Yeah.
anywhere to be
But you're
seen.
saying there in Copenhagen that you're seeing more staff and more public, that it actually is
Yes,
busier than some of these empty organizations that we've seen all over the world.
yes, and especially now in the summertime, I think the hotel they have that 10-minute walk away from the AO. I think it's fully packed in the summertime. There's a
Wow.
lot of people.
Is it
So
public that stays at the hotel, or is this where staff and Sea Org stay as well?
So Sea Org has their lunch and dinner breaks over there. So
Mm,
that's why they are moving between these two different locations.
okay.
But the public is staying there. So you have all the European public coming to do their OT levels in
Ah,
Denmark.
that makes
So
sense. Okay.
yes, so you have a lot of briefcases with the
Tied to their wrist.
e-meter, yeah,
Yeah.
spotted there.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
So in
yes,
addition to sending, of course, be sure to you can find Mirjam and what she's doing at Scientology Up North. You can subscribe to her channel and set that notification bell so that you know when she's going live, or Elron Hub Cult as well, and letting people, share their stories there. Is there anything else that you want to kind of share with the audience about anything else you guys need? Anything else we can do in addition to obviously, showing you support here on YouTube?
I can't think of anything right now. I think at the time when we're gonna have everything set up with the template letters to the politicians, that's
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, tomorrow I'm actually gonna make a video about one of the front groups that is also operating in Denmark, because, like I said, I had a little extra time now. So UFO human rights in Denmark.
Oh my goodness, they're trying to
Yes.
do that there. Have you yourself, Miriam, have you experienced any type of harassment from Scientology that you're aware of?
Uh, no, because they do not know who I am.
Mhm.
So, according to the police, I'm referred as the blonde lady. I would like to keep it like that as long as possible. So I know, the truth will come out at one point, but
Yeah,
it's a cat and mouse game. Let's see when they'll figure it out. So
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Amanda says Miriam and Hub Cult in Denmark are giving us all so much hope. I completely agree with that. That's why I love watching your content. It is inspiring because there is change that's starting to happen there. There's attention by actual elected officials being brought
yes,
to this situation. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. I know I'll be watching and would love to have you on again to do an update again soon. We'll have to do
yeah,
that.
yeah, for sure. And I would say also that for me, what motivates me is to see the hope in the ex-Sea Org children's eyes when they see that there's a big community helping out on YouTube. For example, when I met Samuel and Bianca, that was the first time I met them when Samuel flew from Switzerland, which is basically on the other side of Europe, and Bianca came from Sweden. And I can see how much it means that the SPTV community is giving all the support
Yeah.
or to the ex members, and that's something that really gives me the energy as well to keep on going and the will. And have promised not to stop ever
Yeah.
until at least they are closed down over here.
I love that. And
So
it is
they'll shut
very true.
down.
There's such appreciation because really you're being a voice and holding space for people who
Mm,
as children never had anybody do that for them, never had anybody stand up for them before.
yeah,
And here are
exactly.
people who not only don't even know them
Mm,
personally, I mean, you are getting to know people now, but especially
mm,
someone who's never been in Scientology to be able to do that. That is not the kind of attention, love, acceptance that anybody growing up in Scientology, definitely nobody growing up in the Sea Org has
mm,
ever experienced. So it is a huge deal
mm,
for so many of us when people like you stand up and do these things and say, "Hey, I see it
mm.
too. I see it too. And what happened
Yeah,
to you was so wrong."
yeah.
Because for many, it's not seen that way. It's not seen as abuse. We were indoctrinated to believe that it was something else. So that is
Mhm,
absolutely huge. And that's something that I hope you and everyone else who is out there live streaming and protesting and watching the videos and liking them and doing things to amplify those messages. What you're doing is huge and it means so much to me. And I know
mhm,
each time I speak to one of my friends who are ex-Scientologists, that
mm.
they're blown away. I mean, to the point of where, so many of us, myself included, will just want to cry because it's so amazing that people are willing to do that for people that maybe they've not that for many that they've not even met. And
Yeah,
then it's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, but it's I actually would like to mention something now here, because the fact that I have a platform today is also thanks to other people in the community. For example, MD Media 18, Matt, is working so hard despite of his issues with his back. When he's unable to go and protest, he's on my live chat, he's on Elron Hubcult's chat, he is sharing on his community page every single SPTV protester when they go live, and it's helping so much. Same goes for Eric Rader, for example. He's supporting everyone in the community, and giving the spotlight also for the smaller channels to be able to grow and spread the message of this community. It's such a huge thing. And Fluffy Squirrel, of course, with her idea with the list of all the channels and everything. I mean, this would not be happening right now without these people, and they are so important to the
I
community.
agree. I agree 100% with that. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't wake up and feel just intense gratitude for
Yeah,
what people like you and others are doing and going out there and doing these things because Scientology is a human trafficking cult. and
Yeah.
it needs to stop. The abusive practices need to stop. And
Yeah.
to
I
go
agree.
from a history of saying this in the past and feeling like nobody was listening, no
Yeah.
one was believing it, to have so many people now come together and go, not only do we hear you, not only do we see you, not only do we
Mm.
believe you, we are going to stand with you. And not
Yeah.
only are we going to stand with you, we are going to stand up to them for you.
Yeah.
And
And
show
yeah, and speaking about like role models, Audit LA, who
oh,
has a
yeah.
disability. I mean, this woman, she works so hard. I mean, I aspire to be like her. She's
Mhm.
absolutely amazing, and we need to give credit to these people because they also show that it doesn't matter, what kind of health condition you have, or what kind of background you come from. You can still make an impact, no matter who you are. So
Yep,
everyone
it's
should
very
just
true.
stand up and get the courage and do something.
It's all very appreciated. Fat Grammy's been doing a lot with her. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have Audit LA on the channel. I think we're trying to work out a time for next week. I've been in
Mm.
touch with her because same thing. I've just been wanting to talk to her. I'm like, oh my,
Yeah.
I just can't believe what you've been doing, and I want to hear more
Yes.
about it. So I
Yeah.
so appreciate your willingness to come on and
Yeah.
share this, and I know that we'll be talking again.
Yeah, for sure. Elron Hapgold was really jealous that I got to come on today. So he sends his love.
Well, sending him lots of love back, and
Yeah.
to everybody out there too who is out there working on this. And I look forward to seeing what dot space comes up with. I mean,
Yes.
as you know, they've been doing incredible things there, not just in providing a platform where you can connect with different people who are live
Hmm.
streaming and protesting Scientology, but also, like you were saying, a resource for to be able to reach your
Yes.
elected officials, a
Yes.
resource to be able to say, hey, these people are selling Dianetics books out here. Because
Yeah.
not everybody can go out and live stream or protest, or maybe that's just not how they decide they want to lend their shoulder to the wheel
Yeah.
on this. And that's what I love so much about this community is
Mm.
there are so many things. The people here right now watching the video who hit the like
Yeah.
button, who subscribe,
Yes.
all of that is
Absolutely.
action and energy towards
Yes.
ending these abusive practices in Scientology. And I want so much for everyone who does anything to feel and know how much that's appreciated. I wish
Mm.
there was a way that I could go up to every single person and give them a hug,
Yeah.
for doing this or even do more. It's just
Yeah.
it's appreciated. It as an ex-Scientologist and someone who grew up in Scientology, it gives me so much hope and
Yeah.
really helps me see how amazing
Mm.
people truly are. And that's contrary to what we were indoctrinated to believe growing up.
Yeah. And that's probably why this movement now is different than anything before. It's because there is the community of people never in Scientology that are giving their support.
Yeah,
So,
that are mirroring and, like, showing us, like, "Hey, this is what compassion looks
mhm.
like. This is what
Yes.
grace looks like.
Yes.
Here's how there's" and things are gonna go sideways at time because many in this community, and not just people ex-Scientologists, even people who are out, protesting and doing different things, are
Mm.
going through different battles in life, and they're
Yeah.
doing it and they're healing in real time, and
Mhm.
sometimes that gets a little messy. But then
Yeah.
you figure you're like, "Okay, what can we do to move the needle forward? What can we do? How can we best support each other and be as kind as we can and give each other as much grace as we can to move
Yes.
forward with keeping in our eye on what we want to do, which is to expose Scientology to end the abusive practices."
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I just absolutely
Thank
love
you.
chatting with you. And we will do it again soon. You hold on, just hold on there in the studio. I'm going to
Yes.
chat with you a little bit, but I'm going to say goodbye to everybody else. Thank you for being
Yes.
here. And remember, you guys have homework. You got to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and set your notification bell to all. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I will talk to you soon. Hope you all get out and have a great cult free day.